So thank you all for joining us today and being part of this Sunday service. We know you have lots of choices in the world, and we're glad you decided to be with us today. I'm continuing this month's series on what's beyond gratitude. And when I come up with these monthly themes and talk titles, I never know exactly how they're going to work out. And I've learned to not worry about it and just trust that whatever I get is going to be just right. And today's talk is no exception. So in last Tuesday night's class, Beyond Gratitude, somebody asked, so what's beyond gratitude? And my typical answer to a very good question is, wow, that's a great question. And then I take a breath and I wait until I get the rest of an answer to come to me. I'm telling you a secret. And we typically think of gratitude as something we feel after receiving a gift, whether it's a physical thing or a compliment, a response to something we've already received, some physical, tangible thing or some nice thing somebody said to us. But beyond gratitude is living from a place of gratitude, living from a place of celebration, like Maria said earlier, living from a place of already being grateful for everything. And that's where we're going today. So what if we could actually decide to see all of life, no matter what we hear, no matter what we experience, no matter what is going on, from a point of view of gratefulness? What if the mindset is to automatically, or at least as soon as we can manage it, to see every single thing that happens as somehow beneficial? Somehow everything happens for our good, for our awakening, for our expansion as spiritual beings. I know it's a tall order, but really that's the question. What if we were able to live from this place of gratefulness, as Brother David Steindl-Rast says and writes, gratefulness is a key to a happy life that we hold in our hands, because if we're not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we won't be happy, because we will always want something more. And he also writes, what we really want is joy. We don't want things. And I suspect we also want safety and ease. We also want belonging, all of which, when present, lead us to a feeling of joy. In his book, Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer, he wrote, everything is a gift. The degree to which we are awake to this truth is the measure of our gratefulness. And gratefulness is a measure of our aliveness. This is a hard idea to comprehend sometimes, though it's far from a new idea. It goes back ages and ages and ages. Last week, I used a quote from Emerson: cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, and give thanks continuously. And here's the kicker: because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. It's a hard spot, right? Including all things in our gratitude, because some stuff that's happened is not necessarily like happy making. And yet, because of those things, we have become who we are. And so we need to include those things in our big picture of gratitude, of thankfulness, of gratefulness. From the Christian Bible, Apostle Paul wrote to the church at Rome, we know that all things work together for good. And there are some Bible scholars that like to translate that word good as the absolute best situation or conclusion possible. So if we look at that verse, all things work together for the absolute best situation possible. So even if something looks gnarly to us, somehow it serves us in waking up to becoming more of who and what we have come here to be. And from Dr. Holmes, the quote you've been expecting, from The Science of Mind, page 497, paragraph 2. We used this last week in the spiritual thought that Sharon read. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary, most life-giving, and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. Gratitude is one of the chief graces of human existence and is crowned in heaven with the consciousness of unity. When we can remember this, we remember our unity with life. We remember our unity with all beings. And it's that 7 wonders of the world that David was singing about that help us get to that place of remembering that order, that beauty, that joy, that are ours to believe, to feel and to embody. And we've got to get there, right? It's not a place that we automatically move from. So when Sharon and I were teaching the Revealing Wholeness class that finished last month, they listed in the back of it a bunch of spiritual principles and then a bunch of spiritual practices. And this was kind of a new thing to me, so I wanted to see what was going on. And it looks like the education folks have taken the Declaration of Principles that Holmes wrote back in 1927 and updated them a little bit, still keeping their essential core, and then created a bunch of practices that help support us when we practice, learn, explore, expand, express, etc., all of these different principles. The one for gratitude. Gratitude is the practice of the principle of creation, seeing creation as life-affirming, looking for the good and focusing on that. Gratitude is more than an emotion. It's an attitude which carries us beyond doubt, attracting and magnifying the good that is focused on. Gratitude accepts with perfect faith that which is not yet manifested, as if it were already here. Okay? So it's not an emotion, it's an attitude that carries us beyond doubt, beyond worry, beyond fear, and attracts that good to us that we can see in our minds. And it accepts that it's on its way, even if it's not here yet. And that's important, right? Because we're not living necessarily in the world of our choosing yet. And yet, if we can see it, we can imagine it and we can help bring it to pass. So anyway, this gratitude practice talks about the principle of creation. So I went to look to see what that was. So what is this principle of creation? Hang with me. It's a lot of words. The physical universe is the manifest body of the one infinite reality. And the one infinite reality is more than the physical universe. Creation is an expression of the one infinite reality. It is inherently good and ever evolving towards greater expression of good. I'll tell you, when I read this the first time, my reaction was, what? So what does that mean actually? Let's break it down. The physical universe is the manifest body of the one infinite reality. Those of you who have taken foundations, which is most of the folks in this room, will recognize that phrase. The one infinite reality is another name for God, or the divine mind, or the creative force, or whatever you wish to call it. The whole of the physical universe is God in form, or God in manifestation, if you prefer. The visible, physical, tangible universe is an effect. It's a manifestation. It's a creation.
I'm listening to it.
It still is. Don't you love it? The cause is always invisible. What we think, feel, believe, and know, the cause is always invisible. So we've got the visible, physical, tangible universe is an effect. What created that is cause. It's always invisible, and it is what we think, feel, believe, and know. That's how it works. That's that creative process. And we're doing it and we're living in it all the time, whether we know it or not. So the physical universe is the body of God, but God is more than the physical universe. Okay, right, we got that. Creation is an expression of the one infinite reality. Creation is an expression of God. Okay, yeah, got it. That's the rose, that's the sunset, that's our bodies, that's our experience. We live in God. We live as an expression of God. Creation is what God does continuously. And we're not talking about the clockmaker God who set the world in motion and then walked away, like the thinkers in the Renaissance days believed. Divine mind, one infinite reality, whatever you call it, creates continuously, constantly. And so do we, whether we are aware we're doing it or not. Okay, this is a big gnarly bit, right? The next sentence is, it is inherently good. The creation of the divine, the world that we live in, the experience we have of the world we live in, it's inherently good. It is by its nature good. Do you feel it? Is that how you experience the world? That it is inherently good? Maybe yes, maybe no. In the creation mythologies from most of the major religions, the deity, whatever it happened to be, that created the world saw that it was good. And even creating humans was good. And think about it, when you were little, doing an art project for the important adults in your life, did you think your creation was going to be awesome? Did you think it was going to be excellent, or at least pretty good? Were you hoping when you showed it to them that they would smile or say it was excellent or hang it on the refrigerator? You probably did, until at least some adult didn't, wasn't very excited or delighted with your offering. And then you didn't want to create for them anymore, right? But did you stop creating? Probably not. You might have stopped creating for them if they didn't value your gift. But did you stop creating? Probably not. And maybe you did. I mean, some people don't do well if they don't get the feedback, the affirmation that they expect from the world. And yet we are beings that use the creative process all the time. We create by our nature, just like God does. And so this feeling of being a creator, that ability to manifest, to create, to produce, is part of our innate ability. And nobody makes us. And we can. And we get to decide how to engage with that. So the last bit of that quote about the principle of creation is that it is ever evolving towards a greater expression of good. It's always changing, it's always evolving, it's always learning, it's always about learning and growing. And we like to think, and it's mostly true, that we continue to grow and expand and increase our awareness, our understanding, our acceptance, and sometimes even our knowledge and acquisition of stuff. Most humans share the mental model that says growth and expansion is good, and that we get to define what that means for us. It may be that we want to focus on growth and expansion in building empires and acquiring stuff. And it may be that we want to focus on growth and expansion and kindness and empathy and compassion and connection and build that sense of community and support. We get to define what that means for us. And yet we're always building our definition of good by our choices. So now let's go back to that gratitude statement again. Gratitude is the practice of the principle of creation. Seeing creation as life affirming, looking for the good, focusing on the good. Gratitude is more than an emotion. It's an attitude which carries us beyond doubt, attracting and magnifying the good that is focused on. Gratitude accepts with perfect faith that which has not yet manifested as if it were already here. Gratitude means we decide ahead of time that whatever has been created is somehow life affirming. We look for the good in all situations and focus on that. And we know that it's there even if we can't see it yet. I told the folks yesterday in daily morning practice that I had struggled a good bit of time with my journal the night before, struggling with the notion of justice and reminding myself that justice is a human idea and not a divine one. And then I reminded myself that law, the name we give to the law of cause and effect, operates continuously without the divine needing to get involved in the act. Cause and effect are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. And then I asked myself for the God words that go with the human idea of justice. Just like I was in foundations class or maybe power of your word. What are the God words that go with the human idea of justice? Love, peace, ease, beauty, order, joy. Yeah, those are the words. Justice is a human idea. We think we know what it means. God doesn't see that trauma, that challenge, because God sees the world in perfection and sees it only as a perfectly ordered system. I was reminded of the daily reading from the Science of Mind for last night that I had just read moments before, page 323, paragraph 1. All is love, yet all is law. Love is the impelling force. Law executes the will of love. Humans are centers of God consciousness in the great whole. They cannot deface their real being, but they may hinder the whole from coming to complete expression through their life choices. So what's ours to do? Stay focused. Keep our minds focused on what is ours, not other people's, what is ours, which is to say, deal with our own thoughts, our own experiences, our own decisions, our own interpretations, our own understandings of our own stuff, our own opinions, our own points of view. Manage our households is how the Stoics would say it. We get to manage this body. Each one of us has one, and we get to manage this. What other people do and how we think about them. There is a limit to what's ours to do. Yesterday morning, I came across a recent quote from the current Surgeon General of the United States. He's a fellow named Vivek Murthy. He was born in the UK of East Indian parents. His family settled in South Florida when he was 3. He got his undergrad at Harvard and his MD and his MBA at Yale. So he's a smart guy, right? When he was at Yale, he helped start a class for medical students called the Healer's Art, in which the medical students could learn to increase their awareness of themselves as healers. His whole life was about service. His parents lived, both doctors, his parents lived lives of service. So that's what his focus was. His quote, I thought this was stunning, coming from the Surgeon General. I just want us to never forget that we have the power to choose between love and fear. And the ripple effect that we have on other people when we do that, it's powerful. That's how culture changes. That's how our country will change. That's how we will become better and create a better world. So before I close, I want to repeat the words that Maria used this morning in today's spiritual thought from Dr. Ernest Holmes from The Science of Mind, page 251. At all times, I am aware of my immediate oneness with God, and the glory of my thought makes me immune to negative experiences, even to negative suggestions. I desert fear and turn resolutely and joyously to faith. And swiftly into my experience comes the desired good. I give thanks I am divine and I know my divinity. A sacred refuge is this inner place where my thought contacts and consciously becomes one with the Indwelling Almighty. When we manage our own house, when we manage this package that we're in and how we see and engage with the world, we have the opportunity and the ability to create this world that actually works. It's how it works. And it's our task, and it's our truth. And it's the practice of seeing gratefully, seeing joyfully, that moves us to seeing our world with grateful eyes and experiencing that better world. So I want to close with a children's rhyme, a song that you all know that has way big meaning. I didn't realize the meaning behind this song and this child's song until I spoke it again. That's a whole nother story. As an adult, you're wondering, what on earth is she talking about? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. And we're the ones that row. We're the ones that define the dream. From blogger Christina Pierce, what if we're dreaming right now? We could take a deep breath and relax. We could concentrate on loving our neighbors, realizing that in our essence, we are eternal. We could see this earth and this life as a place to learn. We could be safe in the knowledge that our real selves are still safely merged at home with God, because we never left there. And from Paulo Coelho, be present, make love, make tea, avoid small talk, embrace conversation, buy a plant, water it, make your bed, make art, make someone else's bed, have a smart mouth, quick wit, create, swim in the ocean, dance in the rain, take chances, ask questions, make mistakes, learn, know your worth, love fiercely, forgive quickly, let go of what doesn't make you happy, and grow. Sometimes it seems like a full-time job to control ourselves, what we think about and focus on, how we spend our time, how we perceive our world, and how we decide to engage in our world on a moment-by-moment basis. Whether life is a gift or a battle is entirely up to us. Decide to see and experience all things that happen, all things you imagine, all things you see, all things you know, with grateful eyes and a heart filled with great fullness. Do that. Bless yourself and bless us all. Thank you. So I want to roll into the prayer and hold in your mind some experience of your life that might have been challenging for you. And hold in your mind the possibility that you could see it with grateful eyes, see it from a place of great fullness, knowing that it is entirely for you, for your good, for your awakening, for your unfolding. While I speak the words. Knowing I live as one in God, knowing as each one on this call or watching this recording later does too. I know that one life expresses as love and peace and joy and harmony and beauty and order and goodness. And I know that these attributes of the divine show up as us. And each one has their own particular, unique, gorgeous, glorious expression of this divinity. And it's as individual to each as their fingerprints. And it's as beautiful as a rose, as magnificent as the Grand Canyon, or the smell of coffee in the morning. Just absolutely bursting with aliveness. And I know each one has within themselves this true nature of creation, of gratitude, of joy, and each one has the opportunity and the possibility to express it. And I celebrate this awareness and this recognition that this creative ability lives in and as each one. And no matter what the experience is happening in front of us, in front of our eyes, in the outside world, each one of us has that capability to look at this and say, somehow, this thing that I'm looking at is for my benefit. I wonder what that is. And then each one has the ability to wait and hear the answer, and then move in that direction of that goodness. Celebrating this awareness, celebrating this opportunity to move the world in the direction of joy and the direction of life and goodness and peace and harmony and happiness. I celebrate this opportunity to be more and know more and do more good that rests in the skill set of each and all. Relaxing into the goodness of this, knowing the gift is already given, and we get to do it. We get to take those actions. And I know it doesn't have to be a struggle. This possibility exists for each and all. And I celebrate its activity. Knowing the words are true, I let them be, and so it is.